Welcome, weary listener, to another gentle journey into the silent corridors of history. Tonight, we drift far from battles and great deeds, instead slipping quietly into the world of rules and taboos. Rules often so quietly enforced, so subtly woven into daily existence, that they shaped entire civilizations without a single shout. Tonight's story is not about drama or forbidden romance, but about the slow, careful rhythms of ancient lives. How ordinary people, in centuries long past, moved through days and nights, shaped by invisible lines. Our subject, though whispered and rarely proclaimed, was ever present. The many ways ancient societies forbade or restricted sex. Through the dim candlelight of ancient temples, in the echoing halls of palaces, and even in the hushed shadows of ordinary homes. These rules shaped the rhythm of life, love, and even sleep itself. Imagine yourself, if you wish, not as a king or a warrior, but as an ordinary person, a potter, a scribe, or a farmer navigating a world where the seasons and the stars, the words of priests, and the fear of spirits quietly governed not only what you did, but whom you could love when and how. So, let us begin, slowly, calmly, as the world outside grows quiet. Find comfort in the softness of your pillow, and let the gentle cadence of the past lull you further into rest. In the tapestry of ancient life, love and intimacy wove a pattern as old as humanity itself. But within this timeless dance, societies across the world spun unique threads of rule and ritual. Our tale tonight is one of those threads, a silent narrative of restrictions and taboos that governed the intimate moments of our ancestors. It's a story whispered in the rustling of linen, felt in the gentle touch of a mother's hand, and echoed in the solemn pronouncements of priests. To truly understand this ancient choreography, we must step into the shoes of those who lived it. Picture yourself as a young woman in ancient Greece, your days filled with the rhythm of the polis. As dusk settles, you return home, not alone, but accompanied by your trusted female companion. For even the most innocent of outings demanded within the secure walls of your family home, you might find solace, but even here, the watchful eyes of tradition are upon you. Your bedroom, a sanctuary, yet also a battleground where the specter of unwanted pregnancies looms, demanding the use of protective measures. If you are married, the rhythm of intimacy follows the cycles of the moon, dictated by the taboo against sexual relations during certain times of the month. Now, envision yourself as a man, perhaps a merchant plying his trade in the bustling bazaars of ancient Mesopotamia. The heat of the day is your work's most intense, and you seek respite in the cool shade of a tree. Yet even here, the rules of your society encroach upon your space, dictating how you must conduct yourself even in solitude. As the sun dips below the horizon, you return home, where the mysteries of lovemaking are demystified by the presence of elders, shaping your understanding of intimacy under the watchful gaze of tradition. Across the ancient world, the rules of engagement were as varied as the societies that crafted them. But amidst this diversity, common threads emerge. Incest, for instance, was a universal no man's land, a zone of strict avoidance in families and across social classes. The sanctity of certain familial bonds was so paramount that even the gods were expected to steer clear. In ancient Egypt, the god Anubis, tasked with guiding souls to the afterlife, was prohibited from partaking in the pleasures of love. He was, after all, the embodiment of death, and such a union was deemed inappropriate. As the millennia passed, the reasons for these restrictions evolved, too. Initially, they served a practical purpose, controlling the timing of offspring, preventing illness, and maintaining social order. But as beliefs shifted, so did the rationale behind the rules. Love, once a mere physical act, was now viewed through the lens of spirituality, morality, and even divinity. Sex, in its essence, became a conduit to the divine, a sacred act to be approached with reverence and caution. Tonight's story isn't just about ancient rules, it's about the evolution of human intimacy. It's about the beautiful, sometimes complicated relationship between love and society, between passion and piety. And as the embers of the day fade away, leaving us in the soft glow of twilight, we are left to ponder the echoes of these traditions in our own lives. The ancient world, though seemingly distant, whispers to us across the ages, reminding us that our relationship with love and sex has always been a delicate dance, a dance as old as time itself. If you enjoyed this episode, please remember to like and subscribe, so you never miss an adventure. Until next time, may your nights be filled with peaceful dreams, and your days with gentle discoveries. Imagine yourself in a world where even the most private parts of life were quietly watched by unseen eyes. In this world, the air is thick with custom, with gentle prohibitions passed from parent to child, from priest to villager, from the walls of the temple to the dusty courtyard of your own small home. The rhythm of life here is not fast, nor is it loud. Each day dawns with a slow unfolding, and each night is wrapped in silence, punctuated by small acts, meant to guard against unseen dangers, to preserve the fragile order of the world. Here, sex is not a matter of pleasure or romance alone, but a profound and sometimes dangerous force that must be carefully controlled. lest the unseen boundaries between worlds be crossed. In ancient times, the reasons for these prohibitions were many, and rarely spoken aloud. Some believed that sexual activity could open a person to supernatural harm. The act was thought to make you vulnerable to spirits demonic or mischievous, that lingered at the threshold of the physical and unseen realms. In the soft, flickering lamplight, stories would circulate about those who ignored these boundaries, who tempted fate during a dangerous phase of the moon, or when a ritual called for abstinence. In these stories, punishment might come as bad luck, sudden illness, or simply a sense that something in the world was now out of balance. Ritual abstinence was woven into the calendar of the year and the fabric of daily life. There were times for planting, for harvest, for mourning, and celebration, and each of these could bring its own set of silent rules. During certain holy days or festivals when the community gathered to honor the gods or the spirits of ancestors, it was common for the entire town or village to refrain from sexual activity. Abstaining was a gesture of collective reverence, a way to avoid angering forces that might withhold rain or bring disaster if not properly respected. And then there were the codes for warriors and the chosen. In societies where war was frequent, or where the power of the spirit world was thought to sway the fate of battles, men preparing for conflict were often told to abstain. The reasoning was both mystical and practical. Sexual abstinence would preserve strength, sharpen the mind, and it's always said, keep the favor of the gods. In many homes, private anxieties reinforced public rules. Even without written law, there was a sense that sex, if indulged at the wrong time or with the wrong person, could invite more than Shemitah, could bring impurity, disease, or even curse a whole family line. Before the discovery of germs, people noticed patterns. That certain illnesses seemed to follow promiscuity, that certain seasons brought more births, and that the gods, or fate, might intervene in mysterious ways. For women, especially, the rules could be both more numerous and more quietly enforced. Virginity was valued, often fiercely protected, not only for reasons of family honor or inheritance, but because it was believed to shield the household from shame, bad fortune, and disorder. The daily rituals of bathing, preparing food, or joining in festivals might all carry reminders spoken or unspoken about the importance of sexual restraint. Imagine yourself moving through such a world. Each morning, you rise with the sun, your routines shaped not only by the needs of work and family, but by the rhythms of ritual. Perhaps on certain days, you wear a small charm or say a silent prayer, just in case, just to keep the balance that holds your world together. Sex, in this context, is both ever-present and quietly hidden. Its dangers are not shouted, but softly woven into lullabies, stories, and the gentle warnings of the elders. The rules are strict, but rarely explained, and so the young learn them not through words, but through glances, rituals, and the comfort of repetition. And as dusk falls, the world seems just a little quieter, a place where the boundaries between safety and danger, between purity and peril, are marked not by walls or guards, but by the subtle lines of custom and belief. In a few moments, we will leave these quiet homes and walk the corridors of history to meet those who enforce, broke, or quietly question these rules. But for now, let the gentle patterns of ancient life settle around you, like the softest blanket inviting you to rest, to listen, and perhaps, to dream. In the sun-drenched heartland of ancient Greece, nestled amidst olive groves and vineyards, lay the city of Corinth. In its bustling marketplaces, merchants hawked their wares, while in its grand temple of Aphrodite, a different kind of trade took place. Hiero, a handsome young man, with eyes like the Aegean and a smile that could charm the birds from the trees, had made a name for himself there. He was known not as a merchant or an artisan, but as a guide, leading men into nights of intoxicating revelry. But this was no ordinary revelry. These nights were seasoned with a heady mix of wine, lust, and the thrill of the forbidden. Hiero specialized in leading his clients to secret trysts with a group of women whose very existence was whispered in hushed tones, the sacred band of the goddess. Now, this particular tale takes us back to a time when the rules governing human relationships were more rigid than the marble columns adorning the temples. Ancient Greece, while celebrating love and beauty, also drew hard lines, particularly for women. Marriage was not just a bond of love, but an institution woven into the fabric of society. A woman's reputation, her value, was intricately tied to her virginity, a standard upheld through stringent laws and societal norms. Yet here were the sacred band, women who had chosen to step outside these boundaries, embracing desires deemed unacceptable by convention. To understand the gravity of this act, one must have been there, inhaling the salty air of moonlit taverns, listening to the seductive whispers behind closed doors. But our story does not end here. Amidst this whirlwind of hidden desires, Hiero finds himself inexplicably drawn to one of the women in the sacred band, a certain Myrtle. Unlike the rest, Myrtle carries a secret, a truth she guards jealously. She is not what she appears to be, a simple tavern girl. Her origins are shrouded in mystery. her lineage hinting at a connection to the gods. Their paths collide in the dim oil lamp glow of a seaside tavern. Wine glasses clink, laughter mingles with the murmur of the waves, and a connection sparks between hero and Myrtle. Their nights together become legendary, a blend of passion and intrigue. Hira, entranced by Myrtle, begins to see beyond the conventions, recognizing her as more than a mere tavern girl. He senses the divine spark within her. But this realization comes at a cost. Soon, whispers begin to circulate, rumors of an unnatural bond. The Oracle of Delphi, famed for her cryptic pronouncements, adds her voice to the growing clamor. Their trysts, once a source of heady delight, now carry the weight of prophecy. In the heart of ancient Greece, where mythology and reality intertwined, the relationship between Hero and Myrtle becomes a silent scandal. Their story, though, unwritten in stone tablets or etched on papyrus scrolls, echoes through the ages in the rustle of leaves, the crash of waves, and the hushed tones of those who dare speak of love scandal and the blurred lines between God and man. Our next tale takes us to the sun-baked streets of ancient Thebes, where the shadows of legend linger long after the heroes have departed. There, amidst the tales of Cadmus and the dragon's teeth, lived a man named Aristeus, a man of humble means, found solace in the quiet companionship of his brother Each, a fisherman with eyes, the color of the sea, and a soul as vast as the horizon. Life for them was a familiar rhythm, the sunrise casting its warm glow on their modest home, the scent of the sea mingling with the aroma of freshly caught fish. But their tranquil existence is shattered when Ichi is accused of a crime that sends shockwaves through their community. The charge? A crime against nature? A violation of the sacred bonds of brotherhood? The mere whisper of such an accusation is enough to turn the townspeople's faces from warm smiles to thunderous frowns. Accusations fly like poisoned arrows, piercing the veil of their peaceful life. Ichi, bewildered and afraid, maintains his innocence, yet the scales of justice seem tipped against him. In the face of mounting pressure and a justice system stacked against them, the brothers are faced with a harrowing decision. They must flee their home, abandoning the life they've always known in search of a new beginning, far from the accusing eyes and judgmental whispers of their community. Their journey is fraught with peril, each step a gamble against an uncertain future. With every mile, the shadow of their past looms larger, threatening to engulf their hopes for a fresh start. But amidst the despair, a glimmer of hope emerges. They find refuge in Athens, a city renowned for its progressive ideas and commitment to enlightenment. Here, among the vibrant philosophers and open-minded scholars, they sense a chance at redemption. However, the wounds of their past run deep, leaving scars that refuse to fade. Even in their newfound sanctuary, the specter of their ordeal lingers, a constant reminder of the prejudice they have faced. Still, life goes on. Days turn into years, and the brothers build a new life, brick by painful brick. Slowly, the sting of betrayal lessens. The ache of separation dulls. But the quiet toll on their relationship is undeniable. Their bond, once as strong as the ocean's depths, now bears the scars of their ordeal. The experience has forged within them a profound empathy, a shared understanding of the depths of despair and the tenuousness of hope. Their love for each other, tested in the fires of adversity, emerges tempered and true, a beacon guiding them through the murky waters of their shared grief. Their story serves as a stark reminder of the human cost of prejudice, the silent suffering endured by those who dared to defy societal norms. It is a testament to the power of love and loyalty in the face of overwhelming odds, in the long, arduous journey towards healing and self-discovery. And now, from the shores of Greece, we turn our gaze to the heart of Rome, where the echoes of a scandalous affair still resonate across the centuries. Meet Faustus Cornelius Sulla, a man who scaled the ladder of Roman power with the tenacity of a mountain goat. He was a soldier, a politician, and soon, a dictator. But this is not his story. Our focus tonight is on a much quieter corner of Roman society, the domestic sphere, where passion simmered beneath the veneer of decorum. Sulla's wife, Caia, was a woman bound by the conventions of Roman society, expected to uphold the virtues of modesty and marital duty. Yet fate had other plans. Along their path, they encounter a young man named Gaius, who would change their lives forever. Gaius, with his boyish charm and quick wit, quickly captures the attention of Caia. Their bond deepens over shared laughter and stolen glances, and soon their friendship ventures into the perilous waters of love. For in Roman society, same-sex relationships, while acknowledged in literature and art, were officially discouraged. Theirs is a love lived in secrecy, hidden from the prying eyes of neighbors and gossiping matrons, conducting their romance in the hushed tones of twilight and the sheltered corners of their grand estate. But as with all secrets, the fear of exposure hangs heavy, casting long shadows over their stolen moments. Then fate intervenes in the form of gossip, whispers slithering through the Roman streets like venomous snakes. Caia and Gaius's trysts are no longer their own. Suddenly, the very walls of their home seem to have ears, the servants' lips sealed with wax. The couple's love, once a sanctuary, becomes a prison. The joy of stolen kisses is replaced by the dread of discovery. As the noose of suspicion tightens, they are forced to navigate a treacherous path, balancing the ecstasy of their love with the ever-present threat of exposure. Theirs is a cautionary tale, a glimpse into a love story that dared to bloom where it was not supposed to, only to wilt under the harsh glare of societal disapproval. In their clandestine romance, they mirrored the silent struggles of countless others who dared to love across the boundaries set by ancient Roman norms. And so, from the heights of Sulla's power to the secluded gardens of Caia's villa, we witness a spectrum of human experiences. We see the allure and the perils of forbidden love, the courage and consequences of challenging societal norms, and the silent cost of prejudice. Each story whispers to us across the ages, urging us to remember that history is not just about emperors and conquests, but about the joys, heartaches, and silent struggles of ordinary people, their love, their fears, and their dreams. These stories, though hushed in their time, echo in the chambers of our hearts, reminding us that the pursuit of love, acceptance, and self-expression is a timeless human endeavor. In the 17th century, a scandal rocked the upper echelons of England's nobility. A group of courtiers and their wives had been caught in a tangled web of secret trysts and concealed affairs, shattering the rigid moral standards of the age. Their transgressions were exposed by one woman in particular, Nell Gwynn. As a celebrated stage actress, she moved effortlessly between the homes of the aristocracy, her sharp wit and charm disarming even the most staid drawing rooms. It was through her network of influential friends that whispers of illicit romances and clandestine meetings spread like wildfire. Her role as an unwitting accomplice to their indiscretions was solidified when her own name was drawn into the scandal. Lord Buckhurst, one of the men entangled in the affair, reportedly cried out, "God damn, Nell Gwynn, she has ruined me," showcasing the extent to which she disrupted the carefully constructed facades of the elite. This incident reveals a lot about the societal norms of the era, particularly around female sexuality. Even the threat of scandal could shake the foundations of power and influence. Before we delve deeper into this world of silken curtains and whispered rumors, let's start with the basics. You might be asking, why would a show like this talk about sexual purity rules? What does it have to do with the elite of Well, buckle up. We're about to embark on a journey through time to explore how the rules around sexual intimacy differed for the rich and powerful. Welcome back to Sex, Lies in the City. In this episode, we're taking you back to a time when velvet curtains hid more than just scandalous tricks. Our focus today is the Victorian era, a period known for its strict moral code, especially for women. Picture this. London in the 1800s, horse-drawn carriages clattering over cobblestones, gas lights flickering on dimly lit streets. Within the grand houses resided the upper crust of society, living lives that were seemingly a world away from the grime and clamor of the city. But appearances could be deceiving. Behind closed doors, the Victorian elite played by a different set of rules. While the middle class abided by stringent moral codes, the wealthy had more extramarital affairs were more tolerated due to the rigid gender roles of the time. Women were expected to preserve their virtue until marriage, while men were granted more freedom. However, this leniency came with its own set of restrictions. Now, let's take a closer look at the dynamics of these relationships. The rules governing Victorian love triangles were complex and often contradictory. Women who found themselves at the center of these intricate webs faced immense pressure to conform to society. As expectations, if you were a woman involved in a relationship with a married man, your actions were heavily scrutinized. Extramarital affairs, if discovered, could bring disgrace not only upon you, but also on the man involved. The consequences, though less severe for men, could still be damaging to their reputations and standing in society. As we continue to peel back the layers of Victorian society, we uncover a system that demanded absolute discretion from women while affording men more freedom. This double standard was deeply rooted in the societal norms of the time. Now, let's shift our focus to the fascinating character of Mrs. George Pascal, a prominent figure in high society during the Victorian era. Her story offers a glimpse into the complexities of navigating the social constraints placed upon women. Mrs. Pagean's life was a study in contrasts. Born into wealth and privilege, she enjoyed the freedoms afforded to her social standing. Her well-to-do family background allowed her to pursue higher education, a luxury not accessible to most women of the time. Her decision to marry Mr. George Pastone, a member of the landed gentry, further solidified her position in society. Yet this privileged existence came with its own set of limitations. Imagine being in Mrs. Pagean's shoes, attending parties and where gossip and speculation are rife. Every interaction, every conversation carried with it the potential for scandal. Extramarital flirtations, if discovered, could disrupt not just her own life, but the carefully constructed social order she inhabited. Despite these constraints, Mrs. Pagean found ways to express her individuality. Her choice of attire was a subtle form of rebellion, setting her apart from the demure dresses favored by other women of her standing. Her fashion statements, while seemingly small, were acts of defiance against the restrictive norms of Victorian society. Her friendship with the enigmatic Helen F, a renowned Shakespearean actress, provides another window into the social dynamics of the era. Their bond challenged conventional notions of female friendship, offering mutual support and understanding in a world that often pitted women against each other. Despite the challenges posed by societal expectations, Mrs. Pagine found solace in her intellectual pursuits, particularly her passion for literature. Her library, a sanctuary filled with books by esteemed authors like William Makepeace, Thackeray, and Anthony Trollope, was a testament to her love of reading. This hobby offered an escape from the constricting realities of her social life, providing a space where she could explore ideas and stories beyond the confines of her privileged existence. But as we all know, the Victorian era was not without its share of scandals. And Mrs. Pagine's life was not immune to the consequences of a society teetering on the edge of change. The emergence of new ideas and changing attitudes towards societal norms began to chip away at the rigid structures of the past. Mrs. Pagine found herself at the forefront of this evolving landscape, caught between the old ways and the winds of change that threatened to sweep them away. The unfolding drama of the times was laid bare in the pages of the Times, a newspaper that chronicled not just events, but the shifting sands of morality and decorum. One such scandal that shook the Victorian establishment was the elopement of Lord and Lady Arthur Pelham. Their decision to forsake societal conventions and run away together sent ripples of shock and disapproval through the upper echelons of society. This event, splashed across the front pages of the Times, became a case study in the evolving attitudes towards marital fidelity and female agency. The reactions to the scandal were sharply divided. Some viewed the Pelhams' actions with scorn, seeing their elopement as a betrayal of trust and a disruption of the social order. Others, however, began to question the Victorian obsession with female purity, arguing that societal pressures often force women into impossible situations. The scandal served as a catalyst, opening up conversations that challenged the status quo and paved the way for more nuanced discussions on sexual morality and personal autonomy. The unfolding drama of the era continued with the appearance of pamphlets like The Woman's Kingdom Come, which boldly proclaimed the changing times. Such publications became rallying cries for those advocating for greater freedoms and rights for women. The very act of circulating these pamphlets was a form of protest, a way to disseminate ideas that challenged the patriarchal norms that had dominated Victorian society. Now let's take a peek into the Gilded Age in America, a time when the country was rapidly industrializing, and the gap between the rich and poor was becoming increasingly stark. The lives of the elite were vastly different from the struggles of those living in poverty, and this disparity was reflected in the rules and expectations surrounding sex and intimacy. For the affluent, the Gilded Age was a time of great excess, with lavish parties and extravagant displays of wealth. The rigid social hierarchy of the era meant that there were clear distinctions between the haves and the have-nots. The lives of the elite were marked by leisure and indulgence, while the working class endured harsh working conditions and limited access to basic necessities. This stark contrast in living conditions created a breeding ground for both admiration and resentment. Within this opulent setting, the rules governing intimacy were quite different for men and women. Men were generally freer to engage in extramarital affairs without facing severe social repercussions. Affairs were often winked at or even encouraged, with some wealthy men openly keeping mistresses. For women, however, the rules were much stricter. Adultery was considered a grave sin, and any woman caught engaging in it would be shunned by society. The consequences for a woman's reputation and future prospects were devastating. To understand this duality of standards, consider the case of a young woman named Evelyn Nesbit. Growing up in affluence, Evelyn's beauty and charm made her a target for older, more experienced men. One such man was Harry Thaw, a wealthy businessman who became obsessed with her. Despite being married, Thaw pursued Evelyn relentlessly, eventually persuading her to elope with him. The scandal that followed their elopement was immediate and intense. Thaw's wife, Mary, was deeply hurt and humiliated by his actions. Social ostracism became the weapon of choice, with Evelyn and Harry finding themselves shut out from the exclusive circles they once frequented. This case serves as a microcosm of the Victorian sexual morality, where men could dabble in affairs with little consequence, while women were held to a higher standard and punished severely for the same transgressions. So why did the rules differ so drastically for men and women? The answer lies in the societal expectations and gender roles of the time. Women were expected to preserve their virginity until marriage, and any deviation from this norm threatened the very fabric of society. Men, on the other hand, were judged primarily on their wealth and social standing, with their sexual exploits seen as a mere byproduct of their status. In conclusion, the rules regarding sex and intimacy for the Victorian elite were shaped by a complex interplay of factors, including societal norms, gender roles, and the rigid moral code of the era. For women, it was a time when adherence to strict moral standards was paramount. While men enjoyed more freedom in their romantic and sexual pursuits, However, as the times changed, cracks began to appear in this rigid system, paving the way for more progressive discussions on sexual morality and personal autonomy. As we reflect on this bygone era, it is essential to recognize the lasting impact of Victorian values on modern conceptions of sexuality and gender roles. The tales of love, scandal, and societal pressures from the Victorian era continue to resonate, reminding us of how far we've come and how far we still have to go in our journey towards gender equality and sexual liberation. And with that, we've reached the end of another captivating episode. If you've enjoyed this journey through time, don't forget to stay tuned for more intriguing historical tales. The rules of intimacy and restraint varied greatly across the globe, shaped by geography, religion, customs, and the ebb and flow of cultural norms over time. While we've touched upon some universal threads, the tapestry of human experience is vast and intricate. One fascinating aspect that we have fully explored yet is the role of entertainment and the arts in shaping attitudes towards sexuality. Think about it. Music, theater, dance, and even literature had a unique power to both reinforce societal norms and challenge them. What songs did young people sing? How did popular plays depict courtship and marriage? Did poems celebrate love or lament lost innocence? And what kinds of dances were scandalous at a nobleman's ball? We know that in many cultures, music and performance were not just for amusement, but often carried messages, sometimes veiled, sometimes bold, about love, desire, and the consequences of transgression. These artistic expressions, born from the very communities they reflected, offer a unique lens into the rules of intimacy. They are the echoes of laughter and whispers in the halls of history. Let us continue our journey through time and culture to explore how the rules of intimacy and restraint played out in different corners of the world. Our next stop takes us to ancient Greece. Now, let us traverse the sun-drenched hills and marble columns of ancient Greece, where the ideals of beauty and self-control were celebrated. Here, the rules of intimacy were a delicate dance of balance, a blend of public decorum and private freedoms that surprised many. For Athenian men, strict rules governed their behavior, especially in public spaces. They had little tolerance for public displays of emotion, and any signs of weakness, including those related to sexuality, were often suppressed. But behind closed doors, a different standard applied. Men were expected to pursue excellence in all aspects of life, including their sexual experiences. The famed Greek sculptors immortalized the male form, not just for its beauty, but as a symbol of self-mastery and control. This same ideal extended to women. The concept of female modesty, known as neoscotia, was highly valued. Women were raised to be discreet and reserved, and any talk of sexuality was considered inappropriate. Yet, despite these constraints, Greek literature is filled with stories of passionate love affairs, secret trysts, and the intoxicating power of desire. The playwright, Euripides, for instance, dared to challenge norms with plays like Medea, exploring the depths of a woman's passion and the lengths she would go to protect her sexuality and agency. In this world, the rules of intimacy were not just about repression, but also about self-improvement and confronting the complexities of human emotion. Ancient Greece reminds us that even in cultures that value restraint, desire and emotion are potent forces. As we cross paths with the Roman Empire, renowned for its grandeur and complexity, we find a society where the rules of intimacy took on a multifaceted character. Roman culture, with its rich blend of Greek influence and practical outlook, crafted a system of norms that was surprisingly nuanced. Roman men, much like their Greek predecessors, were expected to be stoic and in control of their emotions. However, the concept of virtues, which combined ideas of bravery, strength, and sexual prowess, held a prominent place in Roman ideals. A Roman man was not only expected to fulfill his marital duties, but also to excel in sexual conquests, reflecting the value placed on fertility and lineage in a society heavily influenced by traditional values. Women, on the other hand, were confined to the domestic sphere, with strict expectations placed on their chastity and obedience. The ideal Roman woman was the epitome of feminine virtue, her sexual purity a cornerstone of her value. Despite these norms, Roman literature reveals a more complex reality. Writers like Catullus captured the spirit of an age, portraying love, affairs, lustful encounters, and the full spectrum of human relationships, exposing the contradictions and complexities that existed alongside the rigid rules of Roman society. The art of seduction, the etiquette of courtship, and the subtle strategies of winning favor were all part of the social landscape. Roman poetry is replete with tales of wooing, with men composing elegant sonnets and women coyly hinting at their preferences. The Colosseum echoed not only with the roar of gladiators, but also with the murmurs of onlookers, discussing the latest scandals and intrigues of the Roman elite. In this world, the rules of intimacy were a tightrope walk, a balancing act between societal expectations and individual desires. The Romans, with their pragmatic approach to life, understood the value of order and tradition, yet also knew how to infuse it with a touch of passion and intrigue. Our journey then takes us to medieval Europe, a period often characterized by religious fervor and societal shifts. In this era, the rules of intimacy underwent a significant transformation, deeply influenced by the rise of Christianity and evolving gender roles. With the fall of Rome and the emergence of feudalism, the dynamics of power and gender roles shifted dramatically. New rules of conduct, known as courtly love, emerged, largely inspired by Christian ideals and the cult of the Virgin Mary. Knightly romance novels featuring idealized versions of the medieval world glorified courtly love, emphasizing the importance of chivalrous behavior, the worship of an idealized lady, and the pursuit of romantic love as a means to spiritual perfection. During this time, the concept of courtly love took hold, often depicted as an elevated form of love between a knight and his lady. While genuine affection might have existed, the primary focus was on the outward display of devotion and the protection of a woman's honor. Knights were expected to be steadfast in their service to their ladies, offering protection and gifts, and a lady was often portrayed as the embodiment of virtue and modesty. In this context, the rules of intimacy revolved around concealing one's feelings, acting nobly, and upholding a strict moral code, especially for women, whose virtue was closely scrutinized by society. And yet, despite the emphasis on restraint and decorum, the writings of troubadours, minnesingers, and other medieval poets reveal a surprising amount of passion and longing. Songs and poems were composed about secret meetings, stolen kisses, and the agony of unrequited love, painting a vivid picture of a society where emotions ran high despite the rigid rules of conduct. Religious doctrine also played a pivotal role in shaping attitudes towards sexuality during this period. The Catholic Church, with its teachings on sin and salvation, had a profound impact on individuals and communities. Celibacy for the clergy was strictly enforced, and any sexual activity outside of marriage was considered sinful and shameful. At the same time, the Church also emphasized the importance of procreation and the sanctity of marriage as an institution. These teachings led to a climate of fear and secrecy, where discussions about sexuality were often hushed, and transgressions were met with severe consequences. In this world, the rules of intimacy were deeply intertwined with religious beliefs, creating a complex web of expectations, fears, and desires. Medieval Europe reminds us that the rules of intimacy are not static, but evolve with changing social norms, religious fervor, and artistic expression. As we journey through time and geography, we see that the rules of intimacy and restraint were as diverse as the cultures they shaped. From the Stoic ideals of ancient Greece to the theatrical displays of courtly love in medieval Europe, each society wove its own tapestry of norms and expectations, desires, and fears. These rules, though rooted in tradition and custom, were not absolute. They had their own internal logic, often serving as a reflection of a society's values and concerns. Consider how the emphasis on female modesty in ancient Greece mirrored their broader cultural values of order and or how the Roman concept of virtues, encompassing both civic duty and sexual prowess, revealed their pragmatic approach to life. In medieval Europe, the rules of courtly love, while seemingly restrictive, provided a structured framework for expressing affection in a society that valued hierarchy and religious piety. The prevalence of secret romances in art and literature across different eras also offers a telling commentary on the human condition. The allure of the forbidden, the thrill of the clandestine, and the bittersweet ache of yearning for something just out of reach. These universal themes resonate with us because they speak to a fundamental truth about the human heart. Regardless of the rules or expectations imposed upon us, our desires and emotions have a life of their own. And so, as we conclude our journey through time, we are left with a profound realization. The rules of intimacy were not merely external impositions, but integral parts of social, cultural, and individual lives. They were threads in the grand tapestry of human existence, shaping interactions, beliefs, and experiences across generations and civilizations. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you enjoyed this exploration into the rules of intimacy throughout history, please remember to subscribe. Together, let's continue to uncover the stories and insights that make our past come alive. Stay curious, keep asking questions, and I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, let the echoes of history whisper to you the tales of love, loss, and longing that have resonated across the ages. You are listening to The Sound of Silence. It is hard to believe that there was ever a time when the world was unfilled with noise. But at one point, people everywhere followed strict rules about what should remain silent and what should be said. Sometimes the reasons they gave for keeping quiet sound strange to us today. And sometimes, despite our best efforts, it is difficult to understand why certain subjects would be off limits or why some sounds would need to be made. As our gentle exploration draws to a close, let the images and quiet rhythms of the past linger softly in your mind. You have wandered through dimly lit temples and the hush of ancient homes. Listened to the footsteps of priests, daughters, and rulers, and traced the silent lines drawn by custom, caution, and belief. We have seen how, in distant times, the rules surrounding intimacy were woven into every aspect of life, not merely as constraints, but as a framework for understanding the world. These prohibitions, rooted in fear and hope, in mystery and necessity, offered a kind of comfort, a sense that even the most powerful and private of forces could be managed through ritual, repetition, and quiet soul. Imagine again the slow days and long nights of ancient villages and shining courts. Picture the rituals that mark the passage of seasons, the secret symbols hidden beneath floors, the watchful glances of elders, the measured steps of those who bore the burden of setting an example for all. In each scene, prohibition became not just a rule, but a song, a gentle refrain shaping the lives and dreams of countless generations. Now let's think about the experience of hearing itself. When you hear a sound, whether it's the birds singing outside your window or the laughter of friends nearby, what do you picture in your mind? What does this sound look like? The truth is, hearing isn't only something that happens in our ears, but in our minds as well. Our brains take the information received by our ears and instantly begin creating an image. This process is called auditory imagery, and it involves everything from the sound's loudness to its pitch, tone, and rhythm. In the 1970s, researchers began exploring how the brain creates these mental pictures from sound. They discovered that the first stage of hearing begins in the outer ear, where the shape and size of each person's unique ear canal acts as a filter, emphasizing certain sounds and minimizing others. From there, sound waves travel to the eardrum, causing it to vibrate. These vibrations are then converted into electrical signals by the middle ear and sent to the brainstem. At this point, the brain kicks into gear, sorting through the incoming information and constructing a meaningful interpretation of what is being heard. But how do we go from raw auditory data to a coherent mental image? Studies have shown that our brains rely on a combination of bottom-up and top-down processing to make sense of sound. Bottom-up processing refers to the brain's analysis of the basic elements of a sound, such as its frequency, intensity, and duration. Top-down processing, on the other hand, involves using our past experiences and background knowledge to interpret the meaning of a sound. For instance, if you hear a sudden crash in the next room, your brain will quickly analyze the sound's characteristics and compare them to similar sounds you've heard in the past. Drawing on your previous experiences, your brain will instantly form an image in your mind, perhaps of a vase falling off a shelf or a book slamming onto the floor. This mental reconstruction of the sound allows you to anticipate what might happen next and prepare accordingly, such as by rushing to the scene or calmly continuing with your current task. Hearing is not just about what we perceive, but also about what we choose to focus on. Our attention, much like a spotlight, can be directed towards specific sounds while filtering out the multitude of noises that fill our surroundings. This selective process ensures that we are able to engage with the world around us without becoming overwhelmed by the constant barrage of auditory stimuli. Today, we're going to explore what ancient cultures around the world kept silent and why. Some of these secrets were buried with the dead, never to be uncovered. Others were whispered only in the darkest hours of night. Still others echoed through the grand halls of empires, shaping the destinies of kings and commoners alike. Join me now as we uncover the hidden meanings and forgotten traditions that once reverberated through the corridors of time. Together, we'll piece together the intricate tapestry of human history, revealing the profound impact that silence had on the course of our collective journey. Let's start our journey back in time, in ancient Greece, where the Oracle of Delphi held court within the sacred precinct of the Temple of Apollo. Here, amidst the ethereal mists of prophecy, the air was thick with anticipation as pilgrims from across the ancient world gathered to seek the enigmatic wisdom of the Oracle. Her pronouncements, delivered in a trance-like state, were shrouded in metaphor and cryptic imagery, leaving much of the interpretation up to the individual to gain access to the oracle's chamber. However, one must first pass through the Aditon, or Holy of Holies, where the mysteries of the gods were believed to reside. Within this innermost sanctum, the walls adorned with scenes of triumph and sacrifice, lay the omphalos, a large stone said to mark the very center of the earth. It was here that the oracle, traditionally a woman chosen for her purity and unwavering piety, would enter into a state of divine frenzy, uttering prophecies that would shape the fates of empires and influence the decisions of mortals. But to truly comprehend the significance of these prophecies, one must first navigate the labyrinthine paths of ancient Greek culture, deciphering the subtle nuances and complex symbolism that colored every aspect of daily life. In doing so, we begin to understand the profound impact that the Oracle of Delphi had on the course of human history. But let's move forward now to the land of the pharaohs, where the great Sphinx of Giza stood guard over the eternal slumber of the pharaohs, its enigmatic smile hiding secrets of a bygone era. The ancient Egyptians held their burial rituals in the utmost secrecy, believing that the deceased monarch's journey into the afterlife depended on the preservation of their physical remains and the sanctity of their final resting place. To protect the pharaoh from grave robbers and to ensure the smooth passage of their soul, elaborate tombs were constructed deep within the earth, often adorned with intricate hieroglyphics and filled with treasures meant to sustain the pharaoh in their journey beyond the veil. One such tomb was the discovery of King Tut. S3x resting place in the Valley of the Kings in 1922. The sheer opulence of his burial chamber, complete with golden chariots and countless artifacts, provided a tangible glimpse into the beliefs and customs of this ancient civilization. But beyond the material riches, the secrecy surrounding the burial rituals and the pharaoh's final journey serves as a reminder of the lengths to which the ancient Egyptians went to ensure the well-being of their beloved ruler, even in death. Now, let's venture into the heart of ancient India, where the timeless wisdom of the Vedas was passed down through generations of sages and seers. The Vedas, a collection of hymns, prayers, and philosophical treatises, contains some of the earliest known records of human civilization, dating back to as early as 1500 BCE. Among the most revered of these texts are the four Ashvalayana Upanishads, which explore the nature of reality, the purpose of existence, and the path to enlightenment. Despite their profound spiritual and philosophical teachings, there are certain aspects of the Ashvalayana Upanishads that remain shrouded in mystery, particularly those concerning the tantric practices and esoteric teachings. This secrecy served to protect these sacred teachings from those who might misuse or distort their intended meaning. By limiting access to a select group of initiated students, the Vedic sages ensured that the true essence of these practices remained pure and free from contamination. The result was a rich tradition of esoteric knowledge that has survived for thousands of years, offering a glimpse into the deepest recesses of the human soul and the relentless pursuit of wisdom. In the bustling metropolis of ancient Rome, the Colosseum stood as a testament to the grandeur and power of the Roman Empire. Built in 80 AD under the Flavian dynasty, this massive amphitheater was the site of countless spectacles, from mock battles to animal hunts and gladiatorial combats. But within the roaring crowds and the clash of steel, there existed a culture of secrecy and silence. As the sun beat down on the pack stands and the roar of the crowd echoed through the ancient structure, the spectators eagerly awaited the next spectacle. The gladiators, men and women, who had willingly or unwillingly entered the arena for the amusement of the match, battled fiercely, displaying incredible feats of strength and agility. Yet even in this brutal environment, there were unspoken rules and gestures that bound the participants together. For example, when a gladiator approached the emperor's box to receive his pardon or reward, he would remove his helmet and offer it to the emperor as a symbol of submission and respect. Similarly, when two gladiators fought to the death, the victor would show mercy to his fallen opponent by extending a finger to signal that his suffering was over. Such acts of decorum and respect, though often overlooked, provide a fascinating glimpse into the values and traditions of the Roman Empire. But our journey through the ages is not complete without a visit to the serene temples of ancient China. The religion of Confucianism, founded by the philosopher Confucius in the 6th century BC, was deeply rooted in the concept of filial piety and ancestor veneration. This reverence for elders and ancestors was reflected in the architecture, art, and daily life of ancient China. For instance, the traditional Chinese family home was often designed with courtyards and gardens that symbolized the interconnectedness of past and present. Family members would gather in these shared spaces to pay respects to their ancestors, ensuring that their legacy lived on through the generations. The concept of filial piety was also evident in the arts, with paintings and sculptures depicting scenes of family harmony and reverence for elders. This emphasis on tradition and continuity helped to create a sense of stability and order in ancient Chinese society, allowing it to thrive for centuries. Tonight, as you rest in the comfort of your own bed, feel the distance and the nearness of those who lived before you. Their world, so ruled by boundaries, has faded, yet their rhythms persist. In the lullabies of caution, passed from parent to child, in the stories we still whisper, in the silent spaces that separate each of us from our neighbor and from ourselves. May the calm, steady heartbeat of history ease you now toward sleep. Let the questions, the mysteries, and the gentle patterns of ancient lives become a quiet background, fading into softness as the night deepens. Rest well, knowing that the distant past, for all its strangeness, was inhabited by people seeking order, meaning, and peace, just as you do tonight. Good night.